My girlfriend announced, "I'm starting an OnlyFans. It's my body, my choice, and you'll support me." I replied, "Absolutely." Then I sent screenshots of her profile to her ultra-conservative parents and her employer when both called her during her first live stream. My girlfriend Ashley dropped a bomb on me last Tuesday over dinner. It was a normal night. I was making pasta and she was scrolling on her phone with that look she gets when she's been watching a little too much influencer content. She put her phone down, looked at me with a dead serious expression and announced, "I'm starting an OnlyFans." I just stood there with the colander in my hand, steam rising from the pasta. I waited for the punchline, but it never came. She just stared at me, defiant, like she was daring me to object. She continued, "It's my body, my choice, and you'll support me." It wasn't a discussion, it was a directive. She had this new hard edge to her voice that I recognized. It was the voice she used when her new best friend Jessica had been in her ear. For some context, Ashley and I have been together for 3 years, living together in my apartment for the last 2. Things were good, or at least I thought they were. We were comfortable. We talked about the future, about saving up for a house. But over the last 6 months, Jessica came into the picture. Jessica was a full-time influencer who sold a brand of aggressive empowerment that seemed to mostly involve getting other people to pay for your lifestyle. Every time Ashley spent a weekend with her, she'd come back with new, expensive ideas and a little less respect for my 9-to-5 life. I knew arguing would be pointless. Arguing would make me the controlling, unsupportive boyfriend she was already painting me as in her head. So, I just smiled, put the call in her down, and said, "Absolutely." The relief on her face was immediate. She expected a fight, and when she didn't get one, she practically glowed. She launched into this pre-rehearsed speech about financial independence, about taking control of her own narrative. All the buzzwords she'd learned from Jessica. I just nodded along, serving the pasta, asking questions like, "I was genuinely interested. So, what kind of content are you thinking? And do you need any special equipment?" She ate it up. She explained she'd be doing photo sets and a weekly live stream. She'd already bought a ring light and some new outfits. She said it was going to be tasteful but spicy. I kept a supportive smile on my face, but inside a switch had flipped. This wasn't the woman I fell in love with. This was a bad imitation of her toxic friend, and our shared future had just been canceled. My support wasn't going to be what she thought. It was going to be helping her fully realize the consequences of her choice. After dinner, while she was excitedly texting Jessica about how supportive I was, I went into my home office and started making a plan. First, I needed information. Her parents, David and Mary, are what you'd call ultra-conservative. They are deeply religious, donate heavily to their church, and believe a woman's place is supporting her husband and family. They tolerate me because I have a stable job and a clean record, but they've always seen Ashley as their perfect, innocent daughter. I knew for a fact they had no idea what OnlyFans was, but they would understand the words selling pictures of herself online. I had their email address from a family vacation we'd all taken last year. It was a joint account they used for everything. Next, her employer. Ashley worked for a high-end family-focused real estate agency. The owner, Mr. Harrison, was a pillar of the community. Another churchgoer who built his brand on trust and wholesome values. His face was on billboards all over town with the slogan, "Finding your family's forever home." I was almost certain they had a social media policy. I remembered seeing her employee handbook on her desk a while back. While she was in the shower, I found it in her desk drawer. I took a quick photo of the relevant section with my phone. There it was, clear as day. A morality clause. Employees must not engage in any online activity that could bring the company's reputation into disrepute or conflict with our core values of family, trust, and community integrity. I found Mr. Harrison's direct work email on the company website. The final piece was our finances. We had a joint checking account for bills, but she also had a supplementary credit card on my main account. I paid the bill every month. She used it for gas, groceries, and a lot of personal shopping. I logged into my banking app. I couldn't just remove her without a phone call, but I could lower the card's limit. I dropped it to $50, just enough so it wouldn't be declined for a cup of coffee, but would fail for anything substantial. I then rerouted the majority of my next paycheck from our joint account into my personal savings, leaving just enough to cover the mortgage and utilities. I was building a firewall. She wanted to be a solo entrepreneur. She could have the finances of one. Over the next week, the apartment transformed into her studio. The ring light was permanently set up in the spare bedroom. Packages with skimpy outfits arrived daily. She was giddy with excitement, treating it like she was launching a legitimate tech startup. She and Jessica would have loud, obnoxious phone calls about branding and subscription tiers, talking about simps and whales who would fund their lifestyle. I overheard Jessica telling her, "Once you're making 5 figures a month, you can dump that 9-to-5 boyfriend and find someone who matches your new status." Ashley just giggled. The confrontation I was expecting about the credit card happened that Friday. I was in the living room when she came in, purse slammed on the counter. "My card got declined at that boutique I like," she said, her voice tight with annoyance. It was so embarrassing. "Did you forget to pay the bill?" I looked up from my laptop. "No, the bill is paid. I lowered the limit on your card, though." Her face went from annoyed to furious. "You what? Why would you do that without asking me? I had things I needed to buy for my launch." I kept my voice calm. "Well, you're about to start a new business that you say will be very profitable. It felt wrong for me to keep funding your startup costs when you're about to be so financially independent. It's your business. You should be the one investing in it." I used her own empowerment language against her. The logic was airtight and she knew it. She sputtered for a moment, called me a jerk, and stormed into the spare bedroom, slamming the door. The financial support had been the foundation of her confidence. The first crack was showing. A few days later, a new escalation occurred. I came home from work to find a huge box in the hallway. It was a top-of-the-line camera, the kind professional photographers use. It cost over $2,000. I checked our joint account on my phone. Sure enough, a massive debit. She hadn't even tried to hide it. I walked into the spare bedroom where she was setting it up. "We need to talk about this," I said, pointing to the camera. She didn't look up. "It's a business expense. You have to spend money to make money. You spent $2,000 from our joint account without even talking to me, Ashley. That was our emergency fund." She finally looked at me, her eyes flashing. "This is an emergency. It's an emergency that I'm trying to build a brand while you're financially strangling me. I needed this. You're just trying to control me because you're scared I'll make more money than you." The accusation was so ridiculous it almost made me laugh. "This isn't about control. It's about respect. You don't just take that kind of money without a conversation. Jessica said you'd be like this." She sneered. "She said you'd try to sabotage me with things like budgets and respect. I'm building an empire and you're complaining about a camera." She turned her back on me, ending the conversation. I walked away, but not before taking a screenshot of the bank transaction. It went into the consequences folder. The smear campaign started subtly. A day later, I got a text from a mutual friend, Sarah. "Hey man, is everything okay? Ashley mentioned you guys were having some trouble and that you're being a little difficult about her new career path." I just replied, "We have different ideas about our future. That's all." It was clear Ashley and Jessica were already spinning their narrative, painting me as the unsupportive villain. Her launch day was set for the following Saturday. She was planning her first live stream for 8 p.m. She spent the entire day getting ready, taking photos, and hyping it up on a new anonymous social media profile she'd created. She told me she was going to be busy and that I should probably make myself scarce, maybe go out with friends. It was the first time she had ever pushed me out of my own apartment. I agreed, telling her I had plans to go to a buddy's place to watch the game. I did go to my buddy's place, but first I made a stop. I used a throwaway email address and a prepaid gift card to subscribe to her page the second it went live. I needed the evidence. The profile was exactly what I expected. Tasteful was not the word I would use. I took detailed screenshots of everything. The bio, the subscription price, the photos she had posted as teasers. The most damning one was a picture of her in our living room with our shared dog in the background. At 7:45 p.m., I sat in my car in a nearby parking lot. I had 2 emails drafted and ready to go, one for her parents and one for her boss. The subject line for both was concerning Ashley's new business venture. The email to her parents was polite. "Dear David and Mary, I know we haven't spoken in a while, but something has come up concerning Ashley that I felt you had a right to know about. She has recently started a new online business. I believe as her parents, you should be aware of the nature of this work. Here is the link to her professional profile." I attached the screenshots. The email to Mr. Harrison was more formal. "Dear Mr. Harrison, I am writing to you out of a professional courtesy. Your employee Ashley has started a new online venture in her personal time. Given the nature of your company's brand and values, I felt it was my ethical duty to make you aware of it, as it seems to conflict with the social media policy outlined in her employee handbook. Here is the link to her public profile. I attached the screenshots, and for good measure, I also attached the photo of the morality clause from her handbook. At 8 p.m. on the dot, I knew her live stream would be starting. I hit send on both emails. Then I drove to my friend's house, put my phone on silent, and did my best to focus on the game. I didn't have to wait long to hear about the fallout. Around 9:30 p.m., my phone started vibrating nonstop. It was Jessica. I ignored it. Then a string of angry texts came through. What did you do? Ashley is freaking out. You ruined everything. I found out the full story the next day from a mutual friend who had been in a group chat with Jessica. Apparently about 15 minutes into Ashley's live stream, her phone, which was propped up next to her laptop, I started ringing. It was her mother, Mary. Ashley ignored it. It rang again. She declined the call, looking annoyed. Then seconds later, her laptop started ringing with a video call. It was her father, David. The look of panic on her face was apparently legendary. She fumbled to end the live stream, cutting it off abruptly. But it didn't end there. As she was dealing with her hysterical parents on the phone, another call came through. It was Mr. Harrison. He didn't yell. He was worse. He was calm, cold, and deeply disappointed. He informed her that he had received an email with some very troubling information, and that she was suspended, effective immediately, pending a formal investigation on Monday morning. He told her not to come into the office. The aftermath was a storm of panicked, furious messages from Ashley. I didn't answer. I went home late that night to find the apartment empty. She had packed a bag and gone to Jessica's. She left a note on the counter. I hate you. You are a monster. You destroyed my life. The next morning, a Sunday, her father called me. I expected him to scream at me, to blame me. He didn't. His voice was just tired and broken. He asked me if it was true. I said it was, and told him I had only sent them the information because I thought they had a right to know. He asked what had happened to his daughter, how she could have gone so far off track. He didn't have an answer for me when I asked him if he had ever talked to her about finances or the real world. He just sighed and said they were flying in to deal with this mess. Monday came and went. I got a text from our mutual friend saying Ashley was officially fired. Mr. Harrison had called it a clear and egregious violation of company policy and wished her well in her future endeavors. The real estate agency couldn't risk its family-friendly reputation. That evening, Jessica showed up at my door. She didn't knock. She pounded. I opened it to a furious tea-aid. She accused me of being a jealous, controlling loser who couldn't handle a strong, independent woman. She said I had sabotaged Ashley's dream because I was intimidated by her potential. I just let her rant. When she finally ran out of steam, I asked her one question. Did you offer to let Ashley move in with you permanently? Are you going to pay her bills now that she has no job? Jessica's self-righteous anger vanished, replaced by a flicker of panic. Well, no, my place is too small. She needs to figure out her own situation. I just empower women. I don't bankroll them. Right, I said so. You filled her head with fantasies you knew she couldn't afford. Encouraged her to blow up her entire life for a get-rich-quick scheme, and now that it's failed, you're leaving her to deal with the consequences alone. Some friend, I closed the door on her sputtering face. The next phase of their attack started a few days later. Ashley, presumably with Jessica's help, launched a GoFundMe page. The story was a masterpiece of fiction. It claimed her abusive and controlling ex had gotten her fired from her job out of spite, and then thrown her out on the street with nothing. She needed money for a security deposit on a new apartment and to rebuild her life. They used a sad-looking photo of her from a time she had the flu. Her followers and a few clueless mutual acquaintances started donating. I watched the total climb for a day, feeling a slow burn of anger. This wasn't just a breakup anymore. It was fraud and defamation. The next day, I received a formal-looking letter in the mail. It was from a lawyer retained by her father, David. It was a cease and desist letter accusing me of harassment and causing Ashley severe emotional and financial distress. It threatened legal action if I contacted her or her family again. The tone was aggressive and full of bluster. Her father was trying to bully me into silence. This was the moment I knew I had to escalate. They were trying to ruin my reputation and threaten me legally. My countermove had to be precise. I did some research online and found the name of the church that her parents and Mr. Harrison both attended. It was a small, influential community where reputation was everything. Using another anonymous email account, I sent a message to the church's public prayer request email address. The email was carefully worded. Dear prayer team, I am writing to ask for prayers for two families in your community, the family of David and Mary, and the family of Mr. Harrison. It seems their daughter and former employee Ashley is going through a very difficult time. She has lost her job and is now asking for public donations online under what appear to be misleading circumstances that unfortunately reflect poorly on Mr. Harrison's business. I pray for guidance and truth for all involved. I attach screenshots of her OnlyFans profile, her fraudulent GoFundMe page, and a link to Mr. Harrison's Wholesome Families Forever Home Company website. It was not an attack. It was a prayer request. The fallout from that email was, from what I heard, nuclear. Within that small community, the information spread like wildfire. The story of the prayer request got back to Mr. Harrison, validating his decision to fire her and protecting his reputation. More importantly, it got back to David and Mary's friends and fellow church members. They were cornered, their daughter's secret. Now public knowledge in the one place they valued their reputation most. The public performance of being the perfect family was shattered. The humiliation was apparently unbearable. A week later, the GoFundMe was taken down. I received another call from Ashley's father. This time, there was no anger in his voice, just utter defeat. "What do you want to make this stop?" he asked. "I want you to stop threatening me with lawyers," I said. "I want Ashley to stop lying about me online. I just want to be left alone." "She has nothing," he said, his voice cracking. "She's living with us. She has no job, no prospects. Jessica won't even talk to her anymore." "You've won." "This wasn't a game, David," I replied. "I didn't win anything. I just stopped losing." Ashley finally showed up 2 days later with her parents in tow. They had flown across the country and were staying in a hotel. They basically forced her to come and get her things. It was the most awkward, tense, moving day ever. Her father wouldn't even look at me. Her mother just cried quietly. Ashley alternated between glaring at me with pure hatred and looking completely broken. She didn't speak a single word to me. As they loaded the last box into her dad's rental car, she finally looked at me and said, "I hope you're happy." "I didn't do this, Ashley," I said, my voice even. "You did. You made a choice, and you told me I had to support it." This is what that support looks like. It's letting you see the full picture of your decision. She just shook her head and got in the car. I watched them drive away. I went back inside my quiet, empty apartment. I deleted the consequences folder from my computer. The revenge was over. There was no joy in it, no triumphant feeling, just a quiet, clean slate. I poured a whiskey and enjoyed the silence. She got her choice, and I got my life.